You have found the portal into the Laughing Stoic Buddha universe. LSB Podcast with Nick Bibeau.
You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think.
Acquire and arrive at is based on having never left. Yeah. Just chilled out because
Dakota Robertson, welcome to the Laughing Stoic Buddha podcast.
That's a fucking name. Holy shit.
Came to me in the shower, just like right already actually came to me in the shower. That's where all my best branding comes to me. Like always the day of too. Like that Twitter handle came to me the day before I talked to you, like 20 seconds before. I was
Damn,
like,
bro.
oh yeah, 20 minutes before. Like, oh, it's right already. Let's go. And then I ran it by you. You were like, let's do it, dude. Sounds good.
Run it up.
Yeah, that was a big confirmation for me that your instinct on it was good.
Yeah.
So, welcome, Dakota. I'm gonna start you off with gonna be a little tough, something a little controversial, and I'll give you a choice.
Uh-oh.
All right. This first one's pretty controversial, and you're welcome to answer in 280 characters or more. This is freedom for you. Ayahuasca, or second, probably much more controversial, your opinion on pineapple pizza. So your choice, dealer's choice.
Ayahuasca.
Okay. What's your opinion on it?
Ayahuasca on my pineapple pizza.
Now we're talking.
No, it's ayahuasca is, to give anyone listening context, I did ayahuasca 2 months ago, month and a half ago. And it was the most profound experience of my life. And the way I view it, the way they talked about it, actually, the shaman and the people working with ayahuasca, they refer to it as medicine, not a drug, not a psychoactive. They refer to it as medicine because that's what it is. It helps people confront what they need to confront, whether that's joy, anger, depression, whatever. It brings up emotions that you need to confront, and they view it as kind of like a living thing, or they view it as a living thing. They refer to it as Mother Ayahuasca, and they have a deep respect for the medicine, and they treat it as such. They have a ceremony when you take it, and it's very powerful stuff. It really, for myself, it was an amazing experience. It was very easy on me. I had a great time on it. And I basically got to confront a lot of childhood stuff I went through. Just feelings of feeling alone, feeling hopeless, not liking myself, all of that. And I just felt deep empathy for myself. And also just feeling a lot more clarity going forward. Like I literally got to confront that inner child in me and be like, hey man, like I got it from here. And it just felt so fucking good. I cried a lot, but it wasn't like tears of sadness. It was just like, it just felt like a lot of pent up stuff, because as men we're told to like suppress your emotions, all of that, be stoic. And yes, there's definitely a time and place for that, but it was good to just kind of feel. And I got to do that. And then also just getting clarity on where I want to be in life, what I want to do and pursue, and how I could be showing up better in my relationships with family and friends. And I felt a deep empathy toward other people too. And after the week was done with the 3 ceremonies, I called a lot of people and had really meaningful conversations that I should have had earlier. And yeah, it was an amazing experience. A lot of other people though, they went through hard times. They suffered a lot. A lot of people were crying, or some were screaming and just going through hard shit, but they needed to go through that too. And it was a beautiful experience. It was the most human experience of my life. I didn't touch my phone at all the entire week. And we started as strangers because there was a group of 12 of us, but by the end of it, we're so fucking close because we're sharing all these vulnerabilities. And like after
it's like going to war together, right?
Exactly.
Like, spiritual war.
Yes, 100%. And by the end of even the first ceremony, because we have integration circles where we all talk about our trip and what we went through, and like even after that day, it was like we're so much like I'm closer with those strangers than a lot of my friends back home. most of my
Yeah.
friends back home. It was such a beautiful experience. And I don't like that there's a stigma with psychoactive drugs, and that it's just people are looked down upon if they take it. Yeah, it was such a beautiful experience. I'm gonna do it probably every year.
That's so cool, man. And that's a very beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing. We could spend the entire hour just on that alone. You hit so
Yeah,
many
yeah.
points that we could definitely dive into. I've never done ayahuasca. I have smoked DMT, which is sort of a condensed version. You've experienced it over like 3 to 5 minutes. But my big one's always been psilocybin mushrooms. And I'm here today talking with you. This podcast exists. I'm on Twitter and writing every single day because of mushrooms. Like if I had to tie it to one thing, it's also my daughters, like I've talked with you about and I've shared a little bit online. But even as motivated as I was to write for my daughters, it was the mushrooms that said, like you said, it'll confront whatever you're avoiding. It'll say, you know, you need to do this shit. And you're very vulnerable. You're very open. I love that you said it was one of your most human experiences, because that's something that me and my buddies that have done psychedelics together always go, you feel naked. Like all of your defense mechanisms and your personality, your persona that you put on to protect yourself against the world, especially as men, gets ripped away. And you're there, exposed, open to what you are as a human, what you are even as a spiritual being. We'll talk, maybe I'll get a little bit of your opinion on that. But just as awareness, as that which is looking out of these eyes in this moment, what are you? And having to face that and confront that. And I'm so happy to hear that you've had that experience. We'll maybe dive a little bit more into some of the realizations that you had, especially relating to childhood. I don't think I've shared with you yet. I have simpatico with you when it comes to not having a father around. My dad wasn't a crackhead, but he just wasn't around. He was just absentee. I didn't see him from 18 months to 12 years old. And then when I saw him again, it's almost like I wish I just never seen him again, because he's, narcissist. He's the center of his own universe. He doesn't care. I've been trying. I call him like his birthday and Father's Day every year and give it a shot. But I don't think that I would be able to sort of let go of a lot of that pain and show up as a father for my own kids if it wasn't for this psychedelic work, this spiritual work. So it's very cool. We can maybe share a little bit back and forth on that. But I'm going to save that a little bit towards the end, because I do have you here. Let's tell a little bit of your story, starting at the beginning in the trailer park. And you can plug a little bit of how you went from poor to writing online, making insane amount of money, making lots of friends and building a great network and all that. Let's start at the beginning. Baby Dakota in a trailer park.
Yeah, so actually it wasn't a trailer park. It was a motorhome I lived in. I wish it was a trailer park. That'd be cool. But yeah, so I'll give you like the synopsis. But basically, my mom had my brother, 3 years older, and he has something called cystic fibrosis, where it's a very serious lung condition. He needs to hook himself up to a ventilator every morning and night to help open his airways, because he'd be dead if he didn't do that until he takes a bunch of prescriptions. But that was a lot for my mom to handle. So he went with my grandparents and they raised him. And then my mom had me, and she gave my father an ultimatum when I came around. She's like, okay, you either like keep doing drugs and all that shit, or you get off it and you help raise these kids. And he chose to smoke crack and all that. He didn't have a father growing up, and he was very scared. And he's a really good person. He wasn't in the picture. He was scared. And so I left me with my mother, and she helped raise me. Or she raised me. But she was working a lot all the time, and eventually she met her boyfriend, one of her boyfriends, and he was kind of like that male figure in my life. But to be honest, at that point in his life, he wasn't a good role model. He was a drug dealer, and Just not. He's very cold and just wasn't a good role model in my opinion. But yeah, for a little bit we lived in a motorhome, and we drove around from place to place, so like Alberta and random places around Canada and all that, but lived in a motorhome for a bit because didn't have much money. And yeah, eventually somehow got a house. And definitely humble beginnings, and my mom was working all the time and all of that. But yeah, I grew up really close to my mom. I was a mama's boy. I
Yeah,
craved
as was
her.
I.
Yeah, I craved her affection, all
Yeah.
that stuff. And she was very loving woman. And I took on a lot of feminine traits because of that, because that's where
Yep.
I got like her boyfriend wasn't around much. He was drug dealing or doing whatever. And yeah, so I took on a lot of feminine traits growing up and was very shy, and I ate a lot of my feelings. So I
Yep.
just eat a lot of food and shit like that. And yeah, it was pretty fat. Well, not like super fat, but I was chubby growing up, and I got made fun of for it. So that didn't help my self-esteem at all. And I just started identify as this kind of loser, and I didn't like myself and all of that, and got made fun of and shit like that. And it was rough. But yeah, like kind of fast forwarding, just went through school, got made fun of, got sick of it, started going to the YMCA, these YMCA boot camps before school. I like
Dude, I
wake up at
can't
5
believe how
a.m.
many parallels we have. YMCA is what changed my health too. It's so crazy.
Dude, that's fucking the place slaps, man. Like it's a,
Yeah.
as a youngster.
Yes.
So I started going with my mom's boyfriend, and yeah, we'd go to those classes. Like wake up at 5, go to the classes. We'd
Hell
have
yeah.
oatmeal at some random cafe, and then I'd go to school. And then yeah, I'd go to jujitsu after school and dance class after school because to keep me busy because they were
Nice.
working. And yeah, I did that for a while, lost a bunch of weight, got jacked because I started going to the gym with my brother, lifting weights, put on some muscle. Was known as the jack kid. Didn't feel like it because I just had all this conditioning growing up. Still very
Still
insecure, but
identified as the pudgy kid. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And it took a lot of work to get out of that, man. But I was like popular in high school. I was the jack kid. I was on the football team. I was friends with everybody, but yeah, I didn't feel like it. I felt like I was going to be found out at any moment, and
Mhm.
I suffered a lot of social anxiety, but I hit it well. And man, I wrestled with that for a long time, for probably till like 22. And yeah, it was rough. But yeah, eventually out of high school, or during high school, I got in this program where you can become an electrician, or you graduate early, but you get in this like electrical program where you get your first year electrical ticket. So I did that because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and I just wanted to make some money while I figured it out. So yeah, I started doing electrical when I was 18, 19 or something, working in the oil and gas industry as an electrician, pretty much a glorified laborer. But
Yeah.
yeah, I really didn't like it. I'm more of a creative rather than a construction person or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically just invested all my paychecks into crypto at the time. This was 2018, and fucking just invest all my paychecks into that. And yeah, basically made some money from that. And that kind of gave me the cushion to go all in on online business and pursue that. But yeah, like I could go into fucking details, but basically just eventually found Twitter and
Yeah.
yeah, took it and ran with it.
That's really cool. I was listening to a podcast you did yesterday. I was listening to it yesterday. I think it was a few weeks ago in preparation for this. You mentioned you worked 84-hour weeks as an
Mhm.
electrician. That is a hard, I don't know that most listeners will understand. I've done it. That's 7/12s, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that is hard work, man. And
Yeah.
it's funny, I see a lot of people online talking about 9 to 5s is a prison and it's soul crushing. And I'm like, yeah, 9 to 5 is, but try 6 to 6
Yeah.
or 5 to
Yeah,
5.
dude.
Like,
Yeah.
and when you're on a construction site, you literally feel like you're in prison sometimes. There's barbed wire fence around you.
Yeah.
You can't go
Shit.
anywhere. There's no walking across the street to a coffee shop. Like it's like
Dude,
so
facts, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
So the fact that you were in that and you found a way to be creative, I again simpatico, feel it very much. I was going to school to be a teacher. I want to teach English, similar to yourself.
mhm.
My story is a little different in that I met a woman. She had 3 kids. I ended up taking her on and taking on the kids. Got married at 21, and I dropped out of college and went and did the electrical thing because that's good, quick, easy money. Because not a lot of people want to do it. Like you said, you're called an electrician, but you're really just a grunt labor. You're
Yeah.
digging ditches, you're carrying shit, you're whatever. If you're lucky, you're sweeping the floor because at least it's less, labor intensive. So that's why I resonate with your story so much. Why I reached out to you on Instagram. Why I'm a part of this cohort is because I'm like, this is a dude that did what I want to do. You know, I've been working my ass off for 12 years. I'm in a better position now. I'm like more of a skilled level, but we got this one life, man. I want to write.
Yeah.
I want to connect with people. I want to create good art. And I see that that's what you're doing, which is, very inspirational to me. And you figured out the levels of this video game that, I'm trying to figure out. I'm a few levels below, but I'm not trying to knock it out one at a time. So it's really cool, dude. Your story is very inspirational to me personally, and obviously to hundreds of thousands of other people out there too. So
Yeah,
I wanted to touch on one thing. You mentioned your dad was an addict, but he was a good person. I really appreciate that and resonate with that a lot. I have somebody in my life that's my biggest mentor. I call him my guru sometimes, but he would laugh at that. I mention his name often. I mentioned on the Duncan podcast, No More Drinking Game. We used to do a drinking game that you take a shot when I bring up his name, Paul Hederman. But Duncan went and ran with it and said it 100 times. So if anybody played the game, they would have died from alcohol poisoning. So no drinking, no shots. But my mentor, my guru, Paul Hederman, talks about he was an addict, drugs, alcohol, and particularly crack, and hit the lowest of the lows. Was in and out of jail, went to rehab, everything, and it just was basically on his way out. He was going to die, if he didn't make a change. And he called it being struck sober. And when he got struck sober, the realization came to him that addiction is a parasite. That it's basically the best analogy you can say is it's this sort of separate entity that attaches itself to a person. And that could be a good person. Most of us probably are good people at our core, but we get sort of attacked by these entities like addiction, and that parasite will then feed on you, on your ability to live, to thrive, to make connections and relationships with people and enjoy your life, and it sort of siphons all that energy out and directs it towards addiction. So I'm glad to see that you've done the work to see that your father was a good person. He just got infected by this parasite of addiction. And I wanted to sort of share with you or sort of ask you, in the realm of psychedelics, do you have any sort of fear? Because it's something that comes up for me of, genetically you are predisposed to addiction. It's in your genes, right? It's in mine as well. Do you have any fear of exploring these psychedelic realms and possibly it being a gateway to harder stuff, to harder drugs, to other directions?
Absolutely not. I don't. If anyone's done psychedelics and you do heavy dose, like you're like holy shit, that was a lot. I don't even view them in the same realm. Like I don't even view them as drugs.
Yeah. It's really a bad name for them. Drugs.
Yeah, it's just tools or medicine.
Like medicine.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, they can be fun sometimes. Like you're just on a cruise and whatever. But no, something that I've really just drilled into my fucking head is like never touch coke, never touch meth or crack or anything. Like I think the big thing is coke because it's in the party scene, especially the younger crowds. I'll never fucking touch that shit because I've seen where that leads. Seen it with my mom, I saw it with my father. I see what the fuck that stuff does. And just I think a lot of people they don't see the impacts of where that stuff leads. And they got sort of, oh yeah, let's do some lines or whatever. And dude, it's a slippery slope. You know, one day you're doing lines and the next day you're fucking smoking rock and you lost everything. You lost your family and you wonder where your life went. And
Yeah.
I don't think people really understand like the fucking impacts it has on people's lives and where it can lead. And I don't want anything to do with that. They'll never fucking touch that. But yeah, like psychedelics, I love them. I don't crave them at all, or I don't think, oh, I want to like do it. Fuck it, I don't want to do coke or whatever. They're like just completely separate realms for me. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm so
I
happy
don't
to
even
hear
touch
that.
weed anymore. I don't even like smoking weed. I get super
Yeah.
paranoid and anxious on it and overanalyze everything. But yeah, psychedelics that's definitely where I like to spend my
I'm really
money.
happy to hear that, man. I've come to a similar conclusion. I've heard the term that weed is a suppressant or a disassociative. So basically, you sort of disassociate from yourself and reality a little bit, and that can be really hard for a lot of people. I've never had a bad trip on LSD, mushrooms, DMT. I've had bad trips on edible weed where you're just in a hole.
Yeah, dude.
You're just in a
Oh my
hole that you
God.
can't get out of. Just everyone, you're paranoid. Everyone
Yeah.
and everything's out to get you. And so yeah, I've basically I do very small doses sometimes with my buddy because we'll go and eat, do like half a little gummy, and then you go and eat and food tastes better. But I'm always very cautious every time that I do it. And yeah, I agree that they should be in different categories altogether. I'd even put weed in a separate category from psychedelics. Psychedelics are an associative. They make you face yourself more. So instead of alcohol, weed, other things taking you away from reality, it forces your face into reality a little bit more. I was laughing to myself when you said you were looking at your relationships and when you're on ayahuasca and going, oh man, I got to make some phone calls. And I'm so glad that you made those phone calls and did that. A metaphor I'll use is sometimes on mushrooms, I get like a report card from the mushroom of like, hey, this person, yeah, you're getting like a D- with them. Like they're killing it for you and you're not showing up for them. And I'll come down and I'll send the text or I'll make the phone call and make shit right. And that's actually what made me, I didn't talk to my father for 8 years. It was after a mushroom trip that I was like, you got to face this shit, dude. Like, it's not going to fix everything, but what you can control is you can make the phone call and reach out, right? And I did that after mushroom trip. I reached out to another friend from my childhood that I didn't talk to for 10 years. And we're like best buddies again over the last 2 years. And it was, again, because of what the psychedelics made me face. Like, my role in this. It's very easy to blame other people for events and things that happen, but when you get quiet, when you have to face yourself, all of a sudden you go, oh, you see your role in the relationship and what you could do better. And that's such a great, again, tool that it can help you to do. So I'm really happy to hear that it's serving you similar to the way it's served me and millions of other people. So that's really cool, man. Okay, so we sort of went through the quick shots of the childhood of growing up in a motorhome, being pudgy, turning it around, getting somewhat of a male figure in your life, getting jacked, getting healthy, working your ass off, finding a way out through Bitcoin and through writing online and all that. So I believe, if I'm following your story right, stuff really started turning around for you about 3 or 4 years ago. Can you talk about that, about when sort of the pieces came together and it clicked and you saw just how much potential there is to do what you're doing, to have a personal brand, to create a network, to create a business online?
Yeah, so I was going to college. I was in my second year of college in 2020, September of 2020, and I would keep up to date with the crypto news with Twitter. And I was scrolling one day and I came across a course on like how to grow your own Twitter personal brand. I was like, oh, screw it. Like if you go on my Twitter banner right now, you'll see a journal entry I have on it. It's like,
Yeah.
buying this course for $40. Don't know where it'll lead, but we'll find out. because I tried other stuff in the past before that, like Amazon FBA, iPhone flipping, eBay flipping, iPhone repair, blah, blah, blah. And I just wasn't interested in it. So when I came across this, I was like, oh, I'm kind of interested in writing and, social media a little bit. This might be interesting. I'll just check it out. $40, whatever. And the information in it was dog shit, but the world it introduced me to, so like money Twitter is what we call our corner of Twitter, with all the entrepreneurs, business people, all that stuff. And it introduced me into that circle, like Dan Go, Dan Co, Joey Justice, like people like that. And I started following his accounts, like you just get introduced to more and more people. And I was, going to school to become an English and psychology high school teacher, but I was learning more on Twitter than I was in college. And I was just, I just got indoctrinated, you surround yourself with these people talking about how to start online business, mindset stuff. And I just really resonated with it, like the black sheep of society. Like they were just all in like this one community, and I just related with them. And I was writing on Twitter like every day, post my thoughts, and it was dog shit, like just in my writing, but I was doing it. And it's just learning from these people and just getting to know more of them and hopping on calls with them. It's like, you know what? Like, I just feel I have a good feeling about this, and this is what I want to pursue. So I'm going to finish up this semester of college, and I'm going to go all in on this. And at the time I was working at Domino's, just making some money as a part-time delivery driver. I chose delivery because I can have an AirPods in while I'm driving, working, all that stuff. So I would listen to courses, I would listen to YouTube videos on business, writing, marketing, all that stuff. And I was just like consuming all this knowledge. And December 4th rolled around, just said, fuck it, quit my job at Domino's. I didn't renew for the next semester. And I'm like, I don't know how, but I'm going to make this shit work. And thankfully I had that cushion from crypto because the bull market started then. I didn't use any of that money. I had like $8,000 in my bank account for like real money. Real money. But I had like I think $140,000 if I needed from crypto where I could just draw upon it. But I said, fuck it. Just went all in on Twitter, just writing like a madman, commenting like a madman, and started to see account growth in February of 2021, and basically gaining traction. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I'm growing my account, and then I got the social media aspect kind of nailed, and I'm learning, getting better at this, seeing traction. Now I just got to figure out the business aspect. And I fell in the trap of procrastination, like read more copywriting books, read more books on business, all that stuff. And I just wasn't taking action. And it wasn't until I hired Dan Coe as my mentor at the time that's when it lit a fire under my ass. Like, okay, like you spent $6,000 out of $8,000 out of your bank account. You need to make this work.
Yeah.
And so, he helped me craft an offer, like become a Twitter ghostwriter and all that stuff. And November 2021 is when I launched my offer. And at that time I had like 4,000 followers. Man, I scaled that shit to $11,000 a month in 28 days just because
Wow.
There's demand for ghostwriting, and I don't know, just somehow made it work. I grew this personal brand to 4K followers, even though it wasn't that much. It just, I guess it gave me enough credibility that I could do it for others. And and then just from there, I had my ghostwriting agency and just worked on scaling it, lost some clients, got some big clients. I just got better over time and started getting better results for clients and myself, growing my own account. And I paid for mentors the whole way. Like that, I owe everything to my mentors. Like David Mendez with sales, Dan Coe with social media, Client Ascension with helping me with operations and offer creation. Abdul, my friend Abdul Kawi.
He's so awesome, dude. I forget. I was so pumped by the end of that masterclass we had the other day. Yeah.
Dude, he has so much heart, and
it comes
so much belief in people, especially me, man. Like I was on a call with him today. We have a weekly call, and he's just so he's an amazing guy. Like we were talking about, he's like, I had a chat with him yesterday. He's like, all right, let's make a deal. Like if whoever if you're not making 400K in a week, by this time next year, you gotta like pay for a first class ticket to wherever in the world for both of us. I was like,
That's
like,
the
dude,
kind of
that's like
people you need to hang
that's a
out with.
fucking stretch, man. Like I don't know, like if I'll be fucking there in a year, and he's just like, you can fucking do it, and we're
Hell
gonna
yeah.
look back on this in a year, and we're gonna laugh at it. I'm like, fuck it, okay, all right. Well, clock's ticking now. That's like the most important thing with mentorship is you're getting the accountability, or you're getting someone that believes in you. Like a lot of the stuff, like in my coaching program, a lot of the time, like these people know what to do. I'm validating, like, yes, do that. Like you with your usernames, yeah, do it. Yeah, 100%. But we have so much doubt in our head when we start out, like, oh, do I do this? Do I do that? Most of the time it's just doing the foundations, doing the basics. And it's not until we hear it from someone that's actually done something, you're like, oh shit, okay, I am on the right path. And you're not questioning yourself. Because when you start questioning yourself, oh, should I do copywriting? Should I do ghostwriting? Should I do web design? You're kind of dabbling all these different things, but it's not until you have someone telling you, hey, listen, motherfucker, do this one thing and do it consistently. And if you do it consistently over a long period of time, instead of switching in like a month or 2 months, if you do it consistently over a period of time, you are going to get results. How do I know? It's because I've done it. And just the
And you're
simple
surrounded by
act,
people that have done it.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And the simple act of telling people like, hey, follow this roadmap that's one of the biggest benefits that people neglect is, that accountability, that belief. And the same with like my football coach, man, like Peter McCall. He believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. I'm forever grateful to that man. I really appreciate him because I know he saw something in me, and I didn't have that self-worth, and just the simple act of him just believing in me, it was really powerful and meaningful for me at that time, and something I carried with me for many years after to this day. So I'm really grateful I'm in the position where I can do that for other people, and it's really meaningful to me. But
yeah, that's so beautiful, man. That example of Abdul saying, hey, whoever, if you're not making 400K in a week, which is just insane, right? Like, what are you kidding? It's like dream numbers. But just being surrounded by people that are talking to you like that are challenging you like that are pushing you like that is so much more valuable than actually even getting the money, a year from now. Like just having, it's a cliche. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, but it's a cliche for a reason, because it's very true. And a goal for me over the last 10 years has been, let me make those 5 people higher and higher quality, and it sounds like you have a very high quality 5 people, that are closest to you, that you're spending the most time with. On that note, I got to bring up Dan Coe, because he's how I found you, as you say. That's almost everybody says that. I avoided Twitter for years, but I found Dan on either Instagram or YouTube. But most of my interactions with him has been through YouTube. And then I started reading his newsletter off of that. And he just resonated. He was the first guy. I'd been sort of messing around. I've been writing blogs online, doing a little bit, doing this podcast and stuff like that. But he was the first guy that he spoke with this calm, humble authority of like, you can do this. Like you said, it's just showing up, doing the work, paying for some mentorships, getting in some circles to understand, the details of this. And basically everyone's got a business, right? A niche of one. Everyone has a life experience. They have something to give. And he's just been huge on my journey the last 9 months or so. It was so cool to connect with him over the masterclass. I hope maybe I can get him on this podcast. I'd love to talk spirituality and non-duality and all the stuff that he's into. So can you dive into a little bit of what it was like to meet him, reaching out to him, what your friendship has been like, and how it's evolved over this time?
Yeah, so we when I started on Twitter, I reached out to him because I resonated with him deeply, and I would just have passing conversations with him in the DMs on Twitter. And when he started his community, MMHQ, I just gave a suggestion for a channel he could add. I forget what it was, like challenges maybe, or I don't know, just gave him an idea. And he's like, oh, thanks, man. What's your PayPal? I'm like, oh, dude, that's my PayPal. Why? He sent me $200. I felt the reciprocity bias kick in. Like, oh, fuck, he gave me money. Like, that's so crazy. Like, what a nice dude. and I felt compelled to return the favor, so I booked a call with him for his coaching program. Fucking, I paid him fucking $6,000, but
That's a good
I'm
$200 investment for him.
exactly right. But it was great because I got to know him and I got to form that relationship with him, which is one of the most underrated parts of mentorships. But yeah, we started chatting a bit more, and it was COVID at the time. Thank you, sir. It was COVID at the time, and he was talking about how he's going to a festival in Arizona. That's where he's from. And I was like, oh man, I'm so jealous. Like, fuck, I wish I could go to a music festival. He's like, well, why don't you come? And the music festival was like in 3 days. And I was like, fuck it, sure. So I booked a ticket. He's like, really? I was like, yeah. So I booked a ticket, met him up in Arizona. We all had a great time. Devin, his roommate, Dan, and I. And it was an awesome time. We all vibed really well together. And when we're in the crowd, I want like one of the last sets. He's like, hey, so I was talking to Devin, like, do you want to move in together? It's like, what the fuck? I was like, fuck yeah, dude. You know, like some young 20 something year old, and you know, you kind of meeting your hero and you ask to move in. You're like, fuck yeah, I'll move countries. So yeah, we started talking about that, and yeah, we moved to Texas in March of 2022. Yeah, 2022. And had the Twitter house. It was fucking great, dude. But when I first met him, he's interesting. He's very stoic. You know, he doesn't show much emotion. But when we moved in together, I just pulled my, I don't know, brought my idiot self out. You know, like I'm really goofy and funny. I like saying stupid shit, and I just kind of like brought that out a little bit in him. But
Pulled
no,
the
man, I
goofy
got
out of him.
the goofy goober. But no, he's a great guy, man. Like he's such a good guy. He's very laser focused, and something I really admire about him. He's very focused on his goals, and he's an adamant walker. Like he got me walking 10 to 30,000 steps a day. Just seeing him do it all the time, I was like, shit, I gotta start doing that. But he's a really good dude, and I got nothing but love and respect and admiration for that guy, and he helped change my life. So very appreciative of him. But yeah, he's an interesting character. He's very unique. I'll say that.
Yeah, it comes through in his content. Something that comes through for both you guys. I'm just slowly learning this sort of circle on Twitter and all that. But a lot of you young, very successful guys that are doing social media and writing online is like this very disciplined, laser focus of like having a vision, working towards it every day, something that's very meaningful, something that you know that motivates you to sit down and do the work every day. And then this very personal, goofy side too. Mm-hmm. And I see the majority of people don't quite strike that balance. It's definitely an art, not a science. Mm-hmm. But you have people that are so serious where it's like, bro, are you a robot? Like, come on, you know, you gotta have this. Where's the personality at? And then there's people that are just totally goofy. And what goes along with what can go along with the goofy is the lack of discipline, that they're not consistently showing up and doing the work. And so something I definitely see in Dan, I see in you, a lot of people in your circle, is striking that balance well of like, hey, we got this one life. Let's do something meaningful. Let's do work that we're proud of. Let's level up in this video game of life, but let's have fun along the way too. Like you know, let's laugh, let's hang out and enjoy ourselves. On the subject of laughing, this podcast, I've been motivated over the years. I like them to be no homo, but like friend dates, you know. And it's cool, especially to like meet somebody over Zoom for the first time. I kind of met Duncan. I already knew him, but he knew me. He got to know me for the first time over Zoom. The first episode was me telling a lot of my story. Second one, I started asking him more stuff and getting into some details of his story that I wanted to enjoy. So yeah, I very much love the like just two guys hanging out. Those are my favorite podcasts. That's what has been sort of my North Star for this podcast. I'm going to steal a question from Pete Holmes, one of my favorite podcasters, because it always elicits a good story. Can you tell me the last time that you laughed to tears?
God, I do that a lot. Fuck.
And if you can't think of the last time, just any time. And it doesn't have to be a good story like with a punchline. Just share the joy of laughing to tears.
Oh, geez, dude. Oh, what was it? Oh, yeah. One that comes to mind, one that comes to mind was actually on ayahuasca.
Oh.
And so there's a shaman, and then there was a psychologist there. And the psychologist, she's nutty. I love her so much. She's fucking crazy, but in the fun way, not batshit. She's crazy. She reminds me of my mom, but her name's Lauren Taus, and she was facilitating the ceremony, but she was doing the ayahuasca with us. And she's just fucking wild, man. She's just like laughing, like having a great time. Just I could hear her laughing in the ceremony kind of circle, because it's like a big dome outside, and there's no lights, everything's dark, and just hear her fucking laughing. I'm like, this chick's fucking crazy, bro. Like, I was just thinking of like how fucking wild she is. And I was just laughing because she was laughing. And then other people were
Contagious.
laughing because they could hear me laughing. And I started laughing more because I was like, this is like a chain reaction. And I was just fucking dead, dude. I was laughing so hard. I was just crying tears. Like, this is and I was thinking, like, I'm high in the fucking jungle right now with a bunch of random people just doing some jungle teriyaki ayahuasca shit. And it's just such a fucking wild experience.
And it makes it so much funnier.
Yeah, dude. I was like, what is going on right now? You know, we're on this big floating rock in space, circling this fireball, and fucking doing this fucking syrupy molasses like psychoactive, and we're just all laughing together. And it was such a fucking trip, dude. But I was laughing pretty hard about that.
That's nice. That's really good. I was, as you were sharing that, talking about contagious laughter. I think the last time I laughed to tears was last week on Abdul's call, because he was telling some story of, he's giving an example of people, somebody having a need and having to fulfill it. And he's talking about people that want babies. It's like, you have a need to want a baby, and somebody wants to fulfill that need, and he just
that's fucking ridiculous,
he couldn't get through it. And it was like the content of the joke was funny enough, but his laughter, just looking at the joy on his face, I couldn't handle it. I had to turn my screen off, and I was crying to tears. Just
that guy, he's so funny, man. He's such a pure soul. He's so funny. And he's a business savage. Like, he just knows his shit.
Again, another example of like someone that takes their craft or their business very seriously, but has fun along the way, and understands the North Star of this has got to be about joy. It's got to be about, friendship, broship, connection when it all comes down to it at the end. So, you're giving me a little lightweight spiritual experience there, talking about laughing to tears in a group on a rock floating around a big ball of burning fire. Let me just ask, there's a lot of different ways we could get into this, but what are your thoughts on what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, so to give context, my mom was Christian, and she tried bringing me to church growing up, but I never resonated with it. I just didn't like it. I didn't care for it. But so I was always agnostic. Like, I wouldn't say I was atheist. It was just like, there might be something, there might not be, I don't know. But found the past year, I felt like more of a calling, kind of like wondering more and more, like, what's out there? Like, I don't know what's out there. Is it just nothingness, just blank after you die? And I don't know. I felt the more, like, the smartest people I know, they're religious, or they're spiritual, and they believe in something. And I was just like, there's got to be something to this, like, I always look at people that are smarter than me, and I look at what they're doing, and it just makes me curious and want to explore it a bit more. But I felt more compelled in the past year, and then like wanting to believe in something, which was interesting. But when I did ayahuasca, I felt connected to everything. I felt like everything was synergistic, life, death, and everything played a part. Everything, it's kind of like a spider web. Everything was just connected to make this big thing, and it was neutral. Like, there's no good, there's no evil. There's just is. There's just stuff. And yeah, I'm not religious, but I would identify as spiritual now. I think that the universe is one big kind of organism, and we all are a part of that. And I feel like that is God, the universe. I don't think there's a figure or a man
Yeah.
or something. I think there's something, but I don't know what. But I would identify as spiritual now. I think there's things we cannot see, like our corneas or retinas, whatever you want to say, you can't even detect most of the colors.
Yeah.
And so you think, okay, can't detect colors, like what else can't we detect? And there's
Absolutely.
certain frequencies and all that stuff. I haven't delved deep into that stuff, but I would say, yeah, I'm spiritual. I'm not like super woo woo, but I do think there's something more going on, and I don't think it's just, oh, there's a big bang and then like where did that come from, and then where did that come from, and then that. So yeah, I would identify as spiritual, and it's reading spiritual books over the past 2 years. Like I've read Awareness by Anthony DeMello, or
Mm-hmm.
was it Untethered Soul? That was a great one.
Michael
And just
Singer,
kind of, yeah, like just really resonating with their ideas, because it's not out there. It's like, oh, like you repeat these chants and all that shit. But it was just like, yeah, like, that's a good way of viewing life. And I would agree with most of that. So yeah, I would identify as spiritual, but not too far
That's
in the deep
ve-
end.
very beautiful, man. Very, very poetic. It makes me think. Have you heard the term non-duality before?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I might have to send you some stuff, man. Maybe a few
Yeah,
book
please do.
recommendations, a few videos. So non-duality, inside the word there, non meaning not, and duality meaning two. So non-duality is saying not that there's one thing going on, that everything's God or everything's, doesn't try to label it, but it points to the fact that there's not two things going on. And for most of us, the unconscious belief that we have is there's us, there's Dakota, and then the rest of the universe. There's Nick, and then everything else, right? And what non-duality says is they're actually one. You were kind of getting at that. Or, again, they're not one, but it's all held within the same container, boundless, endless container. Words can get very tough because our words are very dual. It's very subject object, right? I'm the subject, Nick, and I affect objects out there in the world. But non-duality, which comes from Hinduism and has, in Zen Buddhism and all that kind of stuff, more of an Eastern philosophy, says they're so interconnected, they're so close that that we can't even see it. There's sort of this, they call it the gateless gate. They call it closer than close, that it's happening right here all the time, even outside of time. Time is another illusion or object that actually, there's just infinity, and there's things happening within infinity. Nick and Dakota having a podcast together, drinking a Coke Zero, writing a tweet. Those things are happening, but as they happen, they're already gone. It's this ever-flowing river of experience and existence. And it's something that can be tapped into. And it kind of can't be tapped into by who we think we are. Like Nick can't experience non-duality, but Nick is an experience inside non-duality. Dakota is something that non-duality is doing. So we could definitely explore some of that more in the future. I could send you some stuff. I think that you'd really be into it because you're sort of already, you've seen it. Psychedelics will do that. It'll sort of give it to you. And then over time, you can kind of get a framework and a language to bring it more into your life on a moment to moment basis. I think that'd be something really cool for you on your journey.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something I'm really enjoying kind of going more into. Even one thing that's interesting too with religion or spirituality, even if it is not real, or not true, there is zero downside to believing in a God or a higher purpose. Like, it's, I think Andrew Tate was saying it. It's literally just a set of rules that people follow. And like, so don't lie, cheat, or steal. Like, what's the downside to that, really? Like, it's just a rule book for life. Like, we all have our gods, whether it's, I don't know, fucking some people just watch porn or do X, Y, and Z. It's like, those are your gods because you're like defining your values. But by having a higher purpose, like a Jesus or whatever, it's like you're following a rule book for life and you're living alongside that and gives you purpose. And I think that's a beautiful thing, regardless of what's true or what's not. Like, create your own reality.
Exactly, man. And people try to be, they're scared. They want to be clever as to say, well, you really think that there's a man up in the sky that's calling all the shots. So that's a way of sort of guarding yourself against being vulnerable and open to this moment, to what's going on, to the infinity. It's scary for us as a person, as an ego. So we try to be clever and just be like, you fucking idiot. You think that there's God. You listen to these books that were written 2,000 years ago and this and that. It's funny. A tweet's been coming to me. Maybe I'll give it to you. You'll do better than me, but something about clear, not clever when writing. Rumi said, give up your cleverness for awe and wonder. Right. And so it's a sort of a direction of like, you think you're clever and you're interesting and you're special, but you don't get anything from that. You just close yourself off from other people in the world. If you can be in wonder and awe of what the hell is going on, like, what is a tree? What is, this hand? What is it? I call it a hand, but that's a label I give it, like real wonder in this moment. Like, that's so much better than being clever and cool and interesting. Being clever, cool, and interesting is a fun game to play, and it's interesting, but it's just a game. It's not the ultimate. The ultimate is just, wow, this is cool.
The questions are more interesting than the answers,
100%.
Just marveling at everything. Like, this is fucking crazy. Like, you think about this right now. What we are doing is fucking nuts. I can see you, you can see me, and it's because we're transmitting pixels up to a satellite, and that satellite is beaming down to your location, beaming down to my location, and your eardrums are picking up the sound frequencies that are going through this microphone, and your ears are literally translating those vibrations into your ear canal, and it's turning into thoughts. I'm literally transmuting thoughts through fucking the airwave and vibrations into your fucking head. That is nuts. And we just like, oh yeah, we're just talking on Zoom. You stop and think about how crazy all of this shit is. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is fucking a miracle. Like, this is all happening. I fucking write tweets for a living. That's a fucking miracle. Like, what the fuck? You write tweets? It's crazy, man.
Yeah, man. And so I hope, if this podcast, our conversation, if the work that we do is anything, it's a little chance to give people that reminder that this is fucking cool. Appreciate it. And that's one piece. And the other piece is get to work, do something meaningful with these, 70 to 100 years, hopefully you have here in this life, and make something that you're proud of. That's a big piece in mind. We've talked about it a little bit actually on our call, of like, when you're on your deathbed, I always do the deathbed meditation every day. Look back. Are you cool with the life that you lived? Did you do the work you wanted to do, have the experiences, make the connections and the love that you wanted to? And then like meditate on that. And then coming back to today, what's something you can do to move towards that end? And that's sort of at a personal level, something that you can do. And then from that personal level, also getting the big picture of like, and we're just a little piece of bacteria on this tiny little rock spinning through infinity.
Facts, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah, and sort of holding both. So I think that's a pretty damn good ending right there, man. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to cover, but I'm very happy with this conversation. You're a badass.
Yeah, don't smoke crack, kids. That's my final message. Just get high on life.
Good message.
Smoke
Yeah,
that
man.
shit.
You don't need it, bro. Just reflect on the miracle that is this moment. Right on, man. Hey, you're awesome. I'm gonna stop the recording, and we'll do it again sometime, man. That was fun.
Yes, sir. Yes, please. Bye. Bang, bang.
Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this conversation, please hit the like button. If you want to watch more podcasts like this in the future, subscribe and hit the notification to be notified when they come up. If you want to keep up with me, I am on Twitter now every day at Write with a W already. Link to that will be in the description. If you want to check out my writing, I publish a newsletter every Friday through Substack. Link to that will also be in the description. I love you guys, and let's keep doing this together. Peace.